Steve Dotto here. How the heck you doing this fine day? I am thrilled you are joining us, and welcome to Webinar Wednesday, which will begin in just a few moments. But before we begin, let me get a few administrative details out of the way so we don't have to clutter up the time during the actual webinar. First, this webinar is being recorded and it will be available in replay on both Facebook and on YouTube. We leave the replays available to you for 1 week after the webinar is broadcast, and then after that we take the webinars and we archive them for the purpose of our patrons. More on that in a few moments. Every week we host these free webinars. They are on topics around productivity, content creation, and a little bit in online marketing. They're available to you free of charge. However, we are a community-funded channel and we appreciate your support. And you can show your support in 3 ways. The first way is what you're doing right now, just being here, commenting, sharing it with others, being a part of our community. We appreciate that. But in a more practical sense, you can also support us through the Super Chat, which is available to those of you viewing on YouTube. You can always give us a tip if you find something incredibly valuable in what we share. But our main way that we support the Dotto Tech channel and Webinar Wednesday in particular is through the generosity of our Patreon community. If you drop by patreon.com/DottoTech, you can support us financially on a monthly basis here, keeping Webinar Wednesday on the air. But there are perks. Oh, indeed, there are some fantastic perks. The most important of which is we archive each and every one of these tutorial webinars, and the entire catalog is available to our patrons. Now, sit back and relax. We appreciate you being here, one and all. And today's webinar is going to be something special, starting in just a few moments. Am I here? I think I'm here. Hey, everybody. How the heck you doing this fine day? Welcome to Webinar Wednesday. Steve Dotto here. I am some kind of pleased that you are joining us today. Actually, I'm some kind of anxious today because we're delving into uncharted waters today as we are going to be taking on Reddit. So it's going to be an interesting, if nothing else, today's Webinar Wednesday will be interesting. A great big welcome to one and all. How many of you are buried in the snow? -10 in Wisconsin, I see. Yeah, we've got snow coming here in Vancouver. It is on its way as well. As I look outside now, took Farley for a walk earlier today. It felt like it was about to snow. So we're going to be stuck in the same. We're going to be stuck in the same thing that so many of you are stuck in now. Not those of you in Australia. Yes, I recognize that it's early morning there and not snowing. I'm pretty sure. So let's bring in April and let's get on with this week's webinar. It's going to be pretty good today. How are you doing, April?
I'm good. Hey guys, great to see you. A much lighted view from skiing last week, right?
Oh yeah,
in the dark.
That's right. Oh, that's right. You were coming from the ski hill. Now you said you were surprised that I was going to do something on Reddit.
I was. I just I don't know. I feel like Reddit is just beyond, I don't know, our scope of something. A tool.
You think I'm too old for it?
No, I definitely don't. Well, I think I'm too old for it too, personally. I mean, I do searches and I go to Reddit to like research information and get feedback, but it's usually like, why is my dog vomiting kind of thing. I'm interested in today's thing. So yeah, no, you're not too old. Not at all.
I felt like I was at times as I prepared for it. Just out of curiosity, I'm wondering how many of you are regular Reddit users, just to kind of drop it in chat, because those of you who are regular Reddit users, I'm sure that your comments are going to be incredibly valuable as we go through it. Because as I say, it hasn't been my platform of choice. My son has wanted me to do something on Reddit on the YouTube channel or in one of the live streams forever. So he was a big pusher in pushing it through. So I see a lot of casual users, sometimes using it, sometimes occasionally semi-regular. Oh, that's interesting. A lot of kind of semi-regular or non-users. I expect there's going to be a lot of people that are looking at it kind of for the first time. And some interesting discoveries. Before we get going too far, though, I need to do a great big shout out and thank you to our partners in crime here on Webinar Wednesday, and that is Restream. When we switched from doing webinars as traditional webinars using webinar packages, and we moved over to creating webinars and delivering webinars as a live stream here on YouTube Live or on Facebook Live, wherever you happen to be watching us, it was a big leap for us, and we needed the right partner to make it work. We needed the right technology pieces in place to give us the technical capability to be able to deliver to multiple platforms and to incorporate guests and to do the hybrid videos that we do where we incorporate the video. And Restream stepped up to the challenge, and they provided us with everything we need in order to deliver Webinar Wednesday. And on top of that, they agreed to come on and help to support and fund the show, and they became our core, our title sponsor. So thanks so much to the folks at Restream. If you are interested in doing any live streaming programming at all, especially if you want to repurpose that broadcast into multiple live streams at the same time, Restream is a terrific partner. We're actually broadcasting directly out of the Restream studio, which gives us the whole switching studio that we need to produce all of the content, incorporate our video, adding our graphics, our backgrounds. It's all done in Restream, and April will drop the link. So thank you so much to our folks, to our friends at Restream for that. As well, I would be remiss were I not to mention our wonderful patrons. Dottotech itself, the channel, is a community-funded channel. We're supported through the generosity of our patrons, the people who support us. There's many of you on with us right now, and so we want to make sure we do a great big thank you to all of those patrons. If you like what you see here, you like the fact we deliver free training each and every week here on Webinar Wednesday, then I encourage you to maybe jump on board and support us on Patreon. Again, April will drop the link here to let you know. Dog is going crazy outside, and Farley's starting to cry behind me.
Is that my dog upstairs?
Well, that could be your dog that he's hearing. That's funny.
That's funny. Because we know how quiet Max is.
I've got really good new speakers set up here, so it could be that, but Farley is definitely reacting. At any rate, where was I?
We were talking about our patrons, and we actually have a lot of new patrons from last week, so thank you. We're excited.
Yeah, we've had a whole bunch of new people come on, so thank you so much to all of you. Just as a quick aside, or just to put a button on it, these webinars we deliver free each and every week, and then we make them free for a week, and then at the end of the week we archive them, and they're there for the benefit of our patrons. And so all of our patrons get access to the Webinar Wednesday archives, of which this is Webinar Wednesday number 159.
Yes.
Yeah, that's your dog.
I have my ear. Of course. Who else would it be? He's like upstairs across the house. We need more of it.
He's got a healthy bark to him. He does.
Can you imagine when the neighbors they say everything okay? Max has been quiet. That's like 2 houses down. So. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's not Farley. Farley's lying quietly. I think he's right behind me here. He's lying quietly. He's just fine. All right, so here's the plan for today. Today we're going to dive into Reddit, and for me it was a voyage of discovery, spending time with Reddit. And I think a lot of people are under the misconception that we probably decided to do this webinar because of how much Reddit was in the news last week. Can you believe it's just a week and a bit ago that the Wall Street bet story and the GameStop story was top of mind for all of us? That's how fast things are changing in the world, that it's already slipped on well into the back burner or into antiquity. But it was a fascinating story, and seeing how a social platform like Reddit really facilitated this one of these movements of the kind of all of the different movements that we've been seeing over the last little while. But we'd actually planned on doing this much earlier. We were planning our Webinar Wednesdays out a significant amount of time, so I had actually planned on doing this quite a bit earlier. So what we're going to be doing is I have a video that we've recorded, which is a demo of me walking through my thoughts on getting started in Reddit. It's not going to be as salacious as some of you might hope, although you might want to cover your eyes. There are some bad words that appear on screen, none coming from me as we take a look at it. But I just wanted to get a feel for the culture, because there's some unique aspects of Reddit, and I had always shied away from it, and I never really gave a lot of thought to the reasons that it was a platform that I didn't engage in. And I don't know whether I had biases against it, the way it looked back in the day, the types of conversations that happened. But at any rate, I kind of thought that I've always viewed Reddit, to be honest, a little bit on the fringe. And it is and it isn't. I think that that's a kind of an unfair characterization. But sit back. We've got about 20 minutes. We're going to walk through it. And those of you who are veteran Redditors, I'm going to really lean on you in the chat. And I'm looking forward to what you're going to be telling other people about the platform. Because whenever you do a video like this, one of the things, April, I always end up doing is I feel like I'm proselytizing for the service. I want people to use whatever it is that we're doing. And I realize that that's not the case. This Webinar Wednesday is valuable if people look at something and then say, that's not for me, but they're more educated on it. So we're not really proselytizing for you to use it or not to use it. It's just a bit of a voyage of discovery, saying if it's something that you might be interested in, and then giving you some ideas of the best way to get started. So with that, I think we will jump in, watch the video. April and I will be in chat as per normal. We will see you on the other side as we explore Reddit. This was a bit of a different demo to put together today, taking a look at Reddit. A couple of reasons. First of all, Reddit's not a social network that I have historically been one that I've used. So I am coming to it from just like maybe a few hours ahead of where many of you are with Reddit. In fact, many of you may have used Reddit a lot more than I have in the past. So I ended up turning to my son for some help, and I'll probably include a few of his different comments as he took me through a demo. He's been bugging me to do something on Reddit for years. So I finally did it, and he was happy to share with me. But the other thing that made it a little bit difficult was every time I started to prepare this part of the demo and show it, I ended up kind of like down a rabbit hole, because you go into an area of Reddit, you go into one of the forums, and you start reading through the posts, and it's just as addictive as people are saying things like TikTok and some of the other social platforms are, because of in Reddit, partially because it pushes the boundaries of what we have historically been seeing in social platforms for a variety of different reasons. So consequently, it was just a lot more work to get this, to get the demo and to get everything prepared today. But let's start with this. Let's start with when I look at Reddit. As I was thinking about things, I was taken back to my youth a little bit. My early adulthood. And one of my favorite books that I can remember reading in the science fiction genre was Orson Scott Card's Ender's Game. It's part of a series of books about Ender Wiggin. Now, you wonder, why the heck are you talking about a science fiction book that was written in 1985, Steve? Because in this series of books, Orson Scott Card, before the advent of the internet as we know it today, he put a mechanism in place that the hero and his sister of this particular series were just regular folk. Well, they had some they were very capable folk, but they weren't born to leadership or power or anything like that. They rose to prominence in the universe that they were in because they had a strong opinion, and they commented in a public forum where people could share ideas and share opinions. And their opinion bubbled them to the surface and it gave them power, basically. It gave them power. And it was very prescient, because he was really talking about something much like we find today with our social platforms, with the ability for people to rise to power, rise to influence, gain followers, become influencers. And he foresaw all of this as he wrote the series Ender's Game. And I was always impressed with the fact that he was able to tap into this long before it was ever on the horizon for most of us. And one of the unique things about the forums in the conversation platforms that Orson Scott Card put forward in Ender's Game was the participants in it were anonymous. They had pseudonyms, so you didn't actually know the real person. And this is the biggest difference between Reddit and other social platforms. Is you don't find people saying, follow me on Reddit, because you don't know who me is. In Reddit, almost everybody is sitting behind some sort of an avatar. So you don't know the real person who you are interacting with. And so there's a disconnect between our real life and our online life with Reddit. Now it's like everything else. That's got good and that's got bad, but that's a part of the Reddit story. Let's dive in and see if we can figure things out. I'm hoping that we can cover these basics today. We'll see how far we get along. But I'm hoping that we can give you an idea of what Reddit is, what makes it unique, how you end up using it, what you can do with it, basically. A little bit understanding the business behind Reddit, how they make money, and we'll talk about the safety and the security aspect as well, and perhaps the privacy angle as well as we go through it. Now, a lot of you have heard a lot more about Reddit over the last little while because of a particular subreddit called Wall Street Bets, which is the focus of the whole GameStop story, where there was a battle between the average person, the average retail investor in the stock market, and the huge hedge funds, which were shorting a company which was failing, a retail company called GameStop, which its stock was kind of atrophying, and they were starting to circle the drain as a company. And the vulture, the hedge funds, were circling it, about to pick its bones clean. And in rides all of these retail investors who belong to a forum called Wall Street Bets, where they talk about different stock market plays and different ways of investing money with some really unusual goals and objectives, I have to admit. But the retail investors propped up the price of the stock, cost the hedge funds a lot of money, and that saga continues. I don't want to really get into that saga right now, but Wall Street Bets is a subreddit within Reddit, one of the communities within Reddit that brings people that are interested in the same topic together and allows them to share ideas. And they remain hyper-focused on this idea of stock trading and investing. So when you first log into Reddit, when you first sign up and you create an account, very low barrier for entry. You get an email, you get an account basically, and you share your email account address with Reddit, and then you create an avatar or a username and you create an account. This is the current homepage of Reddit. So when you go to it, it looks and feels maybe a little bit like Facebook. There's a series of posts that are listed here, and those posts are decided on when you begin. It's a combination of the algorithm, an algorithm that surfaces the most popular content, and crowdsourced information. How people who upvote and downvote the different posts, which is a really important part of Reddit. So the most popular ones that are voted up and the algorithm. So it's a kind of a combination. This is, I believe most people who use Reddit probably don't stop by the homepage very much. They usually dive straight into the different subreddits that they're part of the community of, that they're interested in engaging in the conversation in. But you and I, this is where we'll begin. Now, a lot of people don't like to use Reddit with this new fancy Facebook-like interface. A lot of the old school Redditors like to work with Reddit the way it used to look. I'll let my son explain.
That says switch to classic Reddit. Visit old Reddit. Can you do that?
So you still live in old Reddit?
I still live in old Reddit. The key difference, as you can tell maybe by now, is let me minimize our screens. In the new Reddit, you saw one post, and it took up the entire middle of the screen, and there's all this dead space on the left and right.
Yeah.
Here you can see 10 posts at a time. You just get more information this way, fewer ads as well.
Okay.
So Reddit is not a message board. Reddit is a collection of message boards. And each message board functions a little more like a community than a normal message board, because even though you have moderators and site administrators, Reddit is mostly policed by upvotes and downvotes. So there's a lot more opportunities for the community to dictate what is seen and what is approved, or what gets kind of run out of town. If something's really popular, it gets upvoted and it goes to the top of the list. So normally when you're on the Reddit front page, this would be called the front page, and Reddit's moniker is the front page of the internet.
Yeah.
What you're seeing here are kind of the most popular votes based on some algorithm. You'll see some posts with only a couple upvotes. The upvotes are the number between the up and down arrow that's on the left.
Yeah.
But if you go down, you see there's one with 17 there, but it's posted 4 hours ago. So there are some very peculiar algorithms, but for the most part, what you're going to see.
Now, is that posted on my feed because I indicated an interest in YouTube as I?
Probably, yes. Yeah. And there's other ways you can curate your feed. Mm-hmm. But generally what you're going to see on basic Reddit, if you're not active in other communities and subscribed to other communities, and by communities I mean the subreddits, is you're just kind of seeing what is the most popular amongst the what's called default.
But my son Luke is an old school Reddit user. He's been using it for years and years, dating back to high school, and he's in his 30s now. So he's been using it for a very, very long time. And that's why he likes that old school interface. I think most of us will probably be a little bit more comfortable with the spacing and the kind of extra interest that's displayed with this feed, which makes us feel a lot more like we are in Facebook. But if you do want to go back, I showed you briefly there, but you just go under your account settings here on the right-hand side, and you go visit old Reddit, and that'll allow you to toggle back and forth between the two of them. And the other thing is, Reddit always has direct access through the navigation bar, and they just call it old.reddit.com. And if you take out the word old, you will be back in the new Reddit. Just if you go to reddit.com, you'll see that it goes back and it resolves in the new Reddit. So you're looking at the exact same information. It's just being displayed slightly differently. Fundamentally, I think the thing that you really have to get your head around is, at its core, the way that information is presented to you is based on your community's opinion more than any algorithm. If you go to this main homepage, yes, you will get the algorithmic information of what's happening, but going into the subreddits, and we will navigate to them just by clicking here in the top, here on the home button, we go down and we can see all of the different communities that I have. Now, some of these Reddit will pre-populate in you based on the interests that you share when you first sign up, because you share some information of what you're interested in, and other ones you have just subscribed to or you've joined over time. So if we just go down, say, to this Evernote one here, which is, you can see they all start with R. Going back to that, the ability to be able to type in and navigate to the community that you want to go to. So it's the subreddit, Evernote. Going back to that, if we take a look at it, we can see that people are commenting on different things relating to Evernote. But there's also some ads. Yes, indeed, Reddit is now ad supported, so they're part of the Google ad network. So you're going to be served ads within Reddit. You'll see less of them if you're in the old Reddit. They'll be pushed off to the side, but there will be some ads, and this is. To me, this is actually kind of encouraging, the fact that if they are making money off ad revenue, that they're probably going to be supported and they're not going to be looking for other ways. At least we know how they make money. So that's something important to recognize. They are very mainstream in a lot of their practices and a lot of the way they work with social media and the way in their business principles, but they're also very avant-garde in other ways. So getting back to the information that's served to us, because I'm interested in Evernote, it's not going to be the algorithm serving me the different information within the Evernote subreddit, but instead it's these toggles here, these upvotes and downvotes, where people take different posts. So they're chronological as well as interest-based. So newest ones are going to be at the top, but ones that get voted up, get pushed up, keep bubbling to the surface, so more people can interact with them as you go along. And you can go in and you can see all of the different comments here. And actually, this is a note that I jumped in on and made a comment on myself. So somebody's asking what's happening with encrypted notes in search, and they go through, and I added a comment right here. I said, just be aware, if you use the encryption feature, there's no recovery feature. So I just said that. And the person commented back, one of the person that started the post, he commented back and replied to me. And I saw that notification in the messages here. So you've got this a fairly refined interface for navigating your way through. I think a lot of us feel, because probably we looked at Reddit early on and we saw that very old school interface back in the day. It was very busy and you had to spend time in it to understand the culture of the interface before you felt comfortable posting. I think most of us are going to be pretty comfortable with this standard nested message interface that we see in the new Reddit being promoted in all of the different subreddits. Interface, fairly classic. Along the top here, you can gain access to the most popular votes, to all the votes. You can join Reddit Live, which people are now streaming live in Reddit, which we won't spend too much time on today, but they are a regular social platform where they're looking to have as much engagement as possible, and they've added live. And I think that's going to be a really interesting twist because of something that we'll be talking about in a moment regarding how public you are with your own real life. Once you're on video, people are going to be able to recognize you a lot more on Reddit, so that's going to change things up a bit for Reddit. but more on that in a moment. You can chat directly with other Redditors in all of your different messages. Anytime that you've engaged in a post and you've been part of it, it gets listed here. And here you can create your own posts from scratch, which will allow you to go in. And in this version here, you have a WYSIWYG editor, which allows you to incorporate video and photos and make rich content and post it. And there's also some ways that you can dress up your post. Reddit has something called Flair, which allows you to put little icons around your post. It's part of the culture of it. You will get comfortable and start to recognize it as you go along. I don't feel comfortable in really explaining it because I think it's kind of trite. My son spent quite a bit of time in the demo that he walked me through talking about Flair. He got quite excited about it. Me, not so much. So that's it on the surface of you can see that it's a message board that is crowdsourced information as far as importance, floating stuff to the top of the display. So what's going to be in your feed is going to be what other people in your community think is valuable rather than what an algorithm thinks is valuable. But as I spent more time with it, I began to recognize that the biggest thing that I think you and I have to get our heads around with Reddit, and is the issue that we are not identifiable as ourselves, as our real world selves in Reddit, by and large. People have avatars. They don't have their real name. When I signed up for my Reddit account, I signed up with Dottotech, and I recognized right away that if I use Reddit a lot, I probably will come up with a more cryptic name because I don't necessarily want to be identified as Dottotech, as my brand on Reddit. It's not that I would do anything that would hurt my brand and be controversial, but it's just kind of not the culture of Reddit to be. Your opinion is what matters, not necessarily you as an influencer. You are never going to see somebody on Reddit saying, follow me on Reddit, like in their social media posts. Follow me on Twitter. I'm Dottotech on Twitter. Follow me on Facebook. I'm Dottotech on Facebook. Follow me on YouTube. I'm Dottotech on YouTube. Reddit doesn't work in that kind of self-promotion critical side. It's more my opinion is what counts rather than the content I create. If that makes sense, and I realize that it probably doesn't right away, but the more time you spend in Reddit, the more you will realize that you want this barrier up between the real you and the Reddit you. I believe that is something which is valuable, which is one of the reasons that I think that it's going to be very fascinating to see how the live streaming video where people can see your face on Reddit, to see how that is going to come together. Now, by doing a search for any topics that you happen to be interested in, so I was looking for topics on baby boomers, and I wasn't very pleased with what I found. But you can do a search. So I, for example, said that I'm interested in podcasting. So I found a podcasting subreddit, which I'm happy to jump in. And already the content that's in there is content that I'm really interested in engaging in. People are talking about what their audio interface is and having some challenges. These are conversations that I'd be happy to jump in and participate in. And as you can see there, there's nothing that would make you feel uncomfortable in a subreddit like this. But all subreddits are not this politically neutral, are not this socially neutral, are not this focused on productive aspects of our society. Many subreddits get far more into fringe activities, and I imagine even in Reddit terms, it's still pretty tame. But let's take a look at the one that's so popular now that has caught everybody's attention, which is Wall Street Bets. And if I type that in, I'm not too sure what we're going to find here when we go, but you'll get here a lot more of the feel for what's happening in Reddit. If you spend a few minutes reading through this, you're going to see a lot more colorful language. You're going to see a lot more people insulting. There is a whole series of posts around the fact that different people are being banned. They banned a series of moderators based on what's been happening, and it is far more active, far more aggressive, far more visceral forum than a lot of us might be comfortable within. And this is the real world of Reddit. There is certainly going to be, if you look for it and you follow some vertical interests, you're going to find some subreddits that you will find value in, that you will be comfortable in. But there's other ones that are going to make a lot of people feel fairly uncomfortable. and say, something, this is not something that I want to participate in. But this is the real world of Reddit. Now, when we stop and think about all of the things that have been happening in the world, and we see how, we've had things like the attack on the Capitol, and you see the Wall Street bets thing happening. You see how people involved in these different forums, it evolves into an echo chamber where the opinion bounces back and forth and it gets amplified, and some truth and some mistruth can be introduced, and all of those positions can be amplified. We see this, as I say, echo chamber effect happening. I think that Facebook is trying to clean up as much of that as possible and push it away, and they're doing it through censorship. Reddit is going to be a place that follows far behind Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, as far as censorship and saying what you can and cannot say. And they can get away with that, I think, because of that anonymity factor, because of the fact that while Reddit knows your email address and can reach out to you and knows that you're probably a real person, nobody else really knows who you are. So you don't see the real movers and shakers, the influencers, being identified as much on Reddit. That's not saying that people cannot have influence on Reddit, that their avatars can't become influential and people start to follow them and follow what they say, and that they provide some sort of leadership, as it were, within the space. Just like we were talking about with Ender Wiggin in Ender's Game, that just your opinion and how well you present yourself and how well you argue your position can make a big difference in how you're perceived in Reddit. But it's going to be a slow growth, and there's going to be a culture of people who start to follow you as a result. I think I should put a button on this now. I know Reddit is a platform that it's going to take you longer to get comfortable with and to understand than most of the other social platforms, because it's just in a more primal place, I think, at the end of the day. So I've got a few little pieces of advice for you. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention it before, but this alien thing it's the mascot of Reddit. It's called Snoo, random fact that we'll just add in. But here's my suggestions for those of you interested in exploring the world of Reddit. And I think it's a good idea to know what's going on. And even if you don't plan to participate, to spend a little bit of time kind of traveling to Reddit and understanding what the world is like there. When you set up an account, I would recommend that you don't try and identify yourself. Come up with an anonymous name. And it is perfectly acceptable to live your life in Reddit behind the veil of anonymity. I believe that's part of the culture. And the other part of the culture is you got to figure out the culture. You got to kind of figure out the energy, the vibe, for lack of a better term. So I really suggest that you spend a lot of time lurking before you start engaging. In other words, read posts, go through, look at the information, get a feel for the rhythm, and get a feel for the forums or the subreddits that you are comfortable in, to see if you find any that are going to add value to your life. If you are in a place where you do a lot of research and you're looking to really kind of have your finger on the pulse of what's happening, Reddit's going to be a great place for that. Reddit is going to give you different types of insight than you can get from any other social platform. But it is totally unique, and you have to be willing to recognize that you're going to have to learn a new language, a new way of doing things. Be careful about investing too much energy in the conversations that happen and getting in the arguments, kind of getting into the more echo chamber space. And if any of us have learned anything from our time on Facebook and Twitter, you're not going to change anybody's mind who's decided that they know what's going on and they're posting their position. You're just not going to change people's minds by arguing with them in this platform. You're just going to end up butting heads. So recognizing that and not trying to change minds is going to make it a lot easier on the soul as you spend time in the more aggressive areas within it. And I believe, depending on what you're looking for, that you will find value in Reddit. Whenever I do these demos, I feel kind of like a sense that I should be encouraging you to use it, and I should be proselytizing the use of the different platforms that we share and that we showcase. I don't feel that way about Reddit. I probably shouldn't feel that way about any social platform. But if you look at this, even what we've shown you right now, and you say, not for me, I think it's not for you. And I think that's a good decision. So if you do get in, I suspect you will find good value. But I also sense that you probably, if you spend time exploring all of the regions, that it will increase your sense of disquiet of what's happening with the world as well, which might be worthwhile to, reality check of what's happening in the world. But Reddit is here to stay. Reddit, you need to constantly recognize that it is such a unique social platform because of the anonymity involved. And recognizing the nuance of that is going to help you navigate your space and to find any value that you can find within a platform like Reddit. So now, this is definitely one of those Webinar Wednesdays where I think that the comments from the you folks are going to be more valuable than the demo that I've just shared with you. So let's get to them. There we go. My exploration Reddit. Special thanks to my son Luke, who jumped in there for a part of the beginning and helped fill in some of the gaps. I love Andre's quote. Well said. Are you coming to bed? It's late. Just a minute. Someone on the internet said something that is incorrect, and I must correct them. That always works out well, doesn't it, Andre? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So what do you think, April?
I think it was just like I thought it was going to be. It was good. No, I thought it was great. There was a lot of people in the comments saying it's not for me. I struggle with Facebook and Twitter already. I think we didn't have a ton of questions today, but we had some pretty legit questions that I think that, like, why would you use it? Like, why would you use this? Would you,
Yeah. And and I'm torn in one aspect. I like the owners. I like the management of Reddit more, even though they definitely are, they live kind of in the gray area a little bit more. But there is a certain, I don't know how to say it, but there's a kind of certain frontier attitude towards it. They don't have the avarice, the blatant avarice that I see from Zuckerberg. Right, and Facebook is the closest analogy, but a platform designed. Facebook is definitely a platform that's designed to vacuum money from us somehow, to suck it from us, and they do it through the sharing of our personal information. The fact that now Reddit, it goes to another extreme. Reddit says they are going to make their profit, and it's going to be much smaller because they don't make as much money, and they make it through ads. And there's a couple of premium services, but they aren't really worth mentioning. They don't make a lot from them. Primarily, it's ad related, but they do it through pure freedom of speech, which means that you have to accept everything that comes along with that. And when we allow our fellow people total freedom of speech with anonymity, they will constantly disappoint us. They will constantly disappoint us with what they come up with. So we have to accept, that's part of it. Now, if you can't accept that, if that is going to affect your joie de vivre, if that's going to affect your sense of well-being, it's something to definitely avoid. For sure, it would be something to avoid. But if you can handle that, then it's great. My son Luke, who's on it, and but Luke has the thickest skin in the world. Somebody will call him an idiot, and he doesn't care. And he says,
I'd be crying in a heartbeat.
Yeah, exactly. And it might be generational, but Luke says, what do I care what somebody else thinks of me? It's just the way that he thinks. It's the way he's wired. So he's a perfect Redditor, and he can dive into the most aggressive conversations and come out. And go, unlike Andre, just go straight to bed and not worry about it. Just cut it off.
Yeah. I would be up for hours. I'd be thinking about it for days.
Yeah. So it's finding the right mix, finding the right balance is so very important. I don't know if I'm going to spend much time in it. To be honest, I see the value. I'm intrigued, but I don't know. And I just don't know where it would, with the limited number of cycles that we have each day and the limited amount of energy that we have, whether or not there's any long-term value for me personally in it. But I'm really glad that I spent this time exploring it. I
No,
gotta
I
say.
thought it was great, and I think it was super helpful. Like I said, when I'm searching for terms, I come across Reddit conversations, and I read those. Those are probably the extent of the amount of time that I spend on Reddit, and it's always you kind of laugh at some of the comments, right? Because there is no holding back on them.
Now I've got a note that I use to create. As usual, I always create every week now here on Webinar Wednesday. I create a note which has all of my kind of script points, but also all of the resources that I used as I did my research and the different thoughts and links to anything. There's a couple of articles that I've linked to in the notes, which I think you'll find really valuable. One is an excellent article that talks about how you can actually use Reddit for business if you want to use it for actually building and growing your business. And we shared that.
Sorry.
And there's a couple of other kind of beginner's primers that I found really useful in describing it. So that's all included in the note. I want to make sure that we mention as well right now. Let me just pop this up next week, just so you know what's coming up here. And then we'll get to your questions here in just a moment. But next week on Webinar Wednesday, we're back to the productivity theme. We're going to be taking on time blocking. This is the second in a series of 4 high-end productivity webinars. Last week, we talked to you about doing a time audit, measuring where you spend your time and figuring out how to maximize your use of time, just understanding where time is leaking out of our hands so that we can concentrate on the things that are really going to move the ball downfield for us. So next week, we're taking on time blocking, which is the second in the series of finding additional productivity. My goal for this first quarter of 2021, since we know it's going to be a ding-dong show as well as much as 2020 was, is let's get control of something we can get control of. And our own personal productivity is something that we can up the game on. So we did an audit last week. This next week, we're going to be looking at time blocking. The following week, we're going to be looking at mastering the Pomodoro technique. And the following week, we're going to be talking about using the Kanban system, an organizational system, and all of those things come together. And you don't have to use them all, but if you use them, they all will fit with your own personal productivity and hopefully enhance your productivity. So keep your eye on your email to register next week as we take on time blocking, which is a real core. It's a great way of just increasing the amount that you get done in a finite amount of time. And one more time, I will do a quick shout out and thank you to all of our patrons. As I say, Dottotech supported through the generosity of you folks. We have one brand new patron today already. I'm sure there might be some others, but we welcome you on board. Was it Brenda?
Brenda,
yep. So welcome aboard. We're thrilled to have you. And she said she's going to be binging all things Dottotech. Well, there's 160 webinars that you can watch. So that's a couple of weeks worth of webinars back to back to back to back. There's more than you can either watch Infinity Wars, the entire Marvel universe, or you can watch Dotto. I don't know which one I would choose.
Well, I think I would start with the first one, though, right? So then you can see how we've evolved.
Oh,
you
geez.
can kind of go down the road.
That first webinar was a long time ago. It was 1972. No, it was 2017 was when we did the first webinar. January 2017 was when we did not the first webinar we ever did, but the first Webinar Wednesday. All right.
Yes.
Now,
all right. So you might want to just mention Foundational Friday. Because actually Robert brought it up and he said he was looking forward to it, and somebody else commented they were at the last one last week and they liked it. So
yeah, so we've added a new webinar to our week, a new regular feature to our week, and it's called Foundational Fridays, and it's really focused on online business and content marketing. Foundational Fridays is designed to support our membership site, which is called the Gray Wave, which teaches baby boomers and Gen Xers how to build online businesses, side hustles, and grow it into an online business. And we recognize that sometimes, much as we try and be really clear, sometimes we're still talking above people's heads about some really basic foundational principles of online marketing because we're coming to it from so many different places. So we started a new webinar series called Foundational Fridays, very similar in format to Webinar Wednesday, where we do a tutorial, we do a Q&A, and we boil right back to the basic principles of online and content marketing. Last week, April talked to us about what a autoresponder is. This week, Liz is going to be teaching the main content, and she's going to be talking about using Canva for creating social posts and graphics far more effectively. So we're just going to be walking through those as we go. So there you will, if you are registered for this or you're on our email list, you'll be notified of Foundational Friday. We aren't live streaming them. They are traditional webinars. Why are they traditional webinars? Because they're part of a long-term sales funnel to get people to join our community, the Gray Wave. So we want to have your email address properly captured, and so we know what to do so that we can ultimately move you along and send you down the path. And once you've taken enough Foundational Fridays and learned enough basis of the business, maybe you're ready to step up and actually start building your business, in which case we want to be there to help. So we do it in Demio. They're hosted in Demio, so they're not going to be available here on YouTube or on Facebook. So that's that.
Alrighty. So we only have a few questions today.
Lots of good comments, though. Lots of good comments.
Lots of great comments, yes, and lots of feedback of how people are using Reddit, and
once again, thanks to all of you that jumped in and clarified things and shared your opinion. That's what makes this great each and every week.
All right. So our friend Rob is asking, who makes money from Reddit?
Well, Reddit is a privately owned company, or it's a privately held company. They, at least I don't know if they're publicly traded or not, but regardless, they have a founder. They earn most of their revenue through ad revenue. They have a small amount of membership opportunities, but primarily it's the amount of traffic in the ads they run. And they're part of the Google Ads, or probably AdSense network. So I see the same ads appearing in Reddit. As I see that I would be getting in Facebook or in straight Google search and stuff like that. So they've got an ad-based model of advertising.
Our friend AM Wasau, and I'm not sure that I'm saying it right, so I apologize. How can you believe stuff posted on Reddit when there is no cost for being a bloody liar? Even if I was searching for news and facts, how can you believe this when there's no responsibility to be honest? Push your false agenda. So just kind of a statement, yes. But there was a lot of that in the conversation, people talking about
and
that.
You're 100% right, but there is very little accountability even when you are being identified. We see Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Instagram pushing back against people who are lying, and they get pillared for suppressing freedom of speech, and we're very much as in kind of the post-truth era. So I honestly don't see a lot of difference. I see because you're aware that there's no accountability. I think that your radar is a little more finely attuned for BS as you read this stuff, and you probably take it with a larger grain of salt than you might take from somebody you trust and that's posting on Facebook. But it's pretty much the same. I'm reading a report right now on on trust and on the diminishment of trust that we have across all sectors of our society. And a term came up that I'm fascinated by. It's called information hygiene. It's how good a job you do of cleaning the content that comes to you, of basically critically looking at information flowing into your feed, and what processes you have in place for scrubbing that, making sure that you're getting the truth and you're getting real information. And it's a fascinating concept, which is fraught with challenges. And the bottom line is, it's a very depressing report to read because there isn't a lot of good news on the horizon. But each of us has to take a lot of responsibility in that case. So you can't believe the stuff that you read. Everybody's a bloody liar, and you've got to determine who you believe based on your own personal information hygiene.
All right. Let's see. You actually answered this question. So somebody said, loved Premiere Foundation Friday. How do you decide to live stream on Demio or restream in YouTube?
Yeah. Got it.
Let's see. Somebody asked about what are your thoughts on Google Meet? I saw that come up recently. Hold on.
Google Meet? I still don't like it. It's not my favorite. I like Zoom. That's still my favorite. But Google Meet, it's just I still find it clunky.
All right. Did you put together a paper about how to use Reddit for business?
No, there is a good document. There's a good link in the note, in the shared note that in the replay. In my show notes, I've got a great link that'll be sent to you. It'll be sent within an hour or so after today's webinar. It'll be sent out.
I just dropped the link. So if you've already registered for today, you will be on the list. But if you haven't and you want the replay, the link is there for you to sign up. Can you be a cat on Google Meet? Let's see. My Growth Rings is saying we have an e-commerce site, and one of our faithful customers messaged us to tell us that someone shared on Reddit that one of our products was posted at half price. So,
yeah. So Robert's asking about doing something on Zoho. I've done a few videos on Zoho. I like Zoho a lot. It's a really, for those of you that don't know, Zoho is a full ecosystem that competes with really the Microsoft Office suite or the Google tools, but it goes well beyond. It's got CRM, it's got customer management, and it's got support desk stuff attached. It's got full accounting. Zoho is a beast of an ecosystem, which is really valuable, has a really loyal user base, but it doesn't have enough penetration that it makes it worthwhile for us to do too much on. I've always wanted to do more, but there's just not a really good economic model for somebody that's trying to, for what we do, to spend too much time with Zoho. We'll continue to dabble in it when we can, especially more on the YouTube channel than here. But I'll take it under consideration. There's a few champions for Zoho out there.
So Rob's saying, if you're going to use Reddit, how would you and why would you use it? For research, for promoting services, for what?
I would be really cautious of promoting it for services, although the article that I've read shows you kind of how you can do it, but it requires a lot of engagement because the Redditors are very aware of self-promotion, and it's kind of frowned upon. I would use it for research. I would use it to find opinions, find ideas, and find, kind of what the buzz is. I think it would be terrific for helping determine content for blog posts or for videos. Not so much in the how-to space where I live, but if you're more in the social spaces, if you're more in kind of in politics or in entertainment or in trends, that it would be being in the conversation there. If you were fluent and comfortable navigating your way through Reddit, you're one of the cool kids in the internet. You kind of get it. You're there. You're happening. You know what the subcultures are. Those are the rest of us kind of look at you and go, wow, that's the type of jeans I'm supposed to be wearing.
Wayne's asking, what's the concept behind giving awards on Reddit, and what can you do with it?
Okay, so and it's not super clear to me. Luke explained it to me. So you've got this ability to give these little awards to people, and you buy them. Or if you are a really good user of Reddit, they award you with these tokens that you can share, that Reddit makes money from, but apparently nobody else does. I think everybody else it's kind of a badge of honor, saying that you have higher credibility. So you kind of get more clout, as it were, on Reddit, because people recognize you. And they also have something called karma points, whereas you post, you get karma. And so I said there aren't influencers on Reddit, and I might have led you down a little bit of a garden path there. There are influencers. It's just you typically don't know who they really are, with a few exceptions. But the influencers, the veteran Reddit users who have been a part of the community for a long time and have added a lot of value to it, there are ways that Reddit identifies those people and rewards those people. And these tokens are one, and karma is another. And so you can see, and you see how many posts they've had, and that just adds credibility to the person of a sort. It's kind of like, but it's also can be a little bit vanity metric, just like a lot of subscribers on YouTube doesn't necessarily mean that you do great stuff. It just means that a lot of people have seen it.
Somebody was asking about Quora. What's the difference between Quora and Reddit?
Oh, Quora. I think Quora is kind of Reddit in slow motion.
Hey, your friend Justin stopped by. Primal Video.
Justin Brown, what the heck's he doing there?
He's just checking in on you, seeing what you're up to.
Hey, Justin, how are you? It's what? Yeah, I guess it's time he can roll out of bed down in Australia. If you want to learn about YouTube, Justin Brown, Primal Video. I'm a member of the community. It's helped me out a lot. Where was we? Oh, you were asking about
Quora. Yeah.
Quora is a question and answer site where people post questions, and there's kind of longer form answers. So you will get some of that certainly in Reddit. But as I say, Quora is kind of like Reddit in slow motion. They're more well thought out. They're more documented, and Quora is also is a site where you will build a reputation by answering questions. And a lot of kind of technical sales or people that are in more advanced marketing. Quora format is designed for the answers in Quora to bubble to the surface more often in Google search because there's a lot of site authority behind it. I definitely don't think that you're going to find anywhere near the edgy content that you find within Reddit, within Quora. But Quora is Quora is something that we should probably do something on at some point, April. That would be well worthwhile.
Okay, sounds good. Let's see. Somebody was saying, I don't like the word cool unless it's describing a temperature. That's hysterical. Okay. Nope. Is Reddit the in crowd?
I'm afraid to say it because I'm so out. I think it's the in crowd, but the in crowd might look at the Reddit and think that there's probably something cooler. There's probably something farther down the pipe, but I don't know who it is. I've reached the point that I'm fine being in the out crowd. That sounded wrong.
Craig was asking, did you discuss live streaming on Reddit? I'm not sure that
you did, something. I did not, and I was watching some live streams on Reddit, and there are some subtleties there that I realized afterwards. I thought the big issue with live streaming on Reddit would be the loss of anonymity. But looking at it as I was watching, I was seeing notifications coming up saying that I got an extra minute to watch, or I don't know, there was time being awarded. Now, I didn't get whether that was for the content publisher to kind of earn extra rights because lots of people are watching their live stream, and if not enough people watch, they kind of wither and die, or if it was for me. So it bears more research, and I apologize, I just didn't have time to do it. But there is live streaming on Reddit, and it certainly on the homepage you see quite a bit of it going on. And I saw some announcements of some real influencers, like legit influencers, who were planning doing Ask Me Anythings on Reddit through live streams. So it's definitely a big part of it. I don't think it's grown to the point as it has in other platforms. But that is one area that I actually had kind of bookmarked that I'm going to take a little bit more of a look at to see if I can figure out what's happening. It's not straight up live streaming the way we're doing here right now. I know there are some subtleties that we're going to have to figure out.
Alrighty.
Okay, somebody says 4chan is even more in. Yeah, and it's not a place I want to go. And when I say some person, I mean literally the person's identified here as some person.
Okay. I think that's it for questions, just really comments at this point. I had a meeting. Oh, yeah. So, yeah.
Well, listen.
So, yeah, there's some people on Facebook that are watching in, but I'm not seeing any questions, just comments.
Good stuff. Well, listen, guys, we will be back. Wednesday, or today's Wednesday. Friday, we have our Foundational Fridays. We're going to be learning a lot about creating social posts using Canva with the talented Liz Azian, who does all of our branding and all of our production work here at Dottotech. Next week on this big show on Webinar Wednesday, we're going to be doing calendar blocking. I'm looking forward to it. There's going to be some serious value there. So put that in your calendar. Make sure that you join us. And please, if you have friends who are looking to up their productivity, let them know about it. Let them know and then bring them into the Webinar Wednesday crowd. You can help grow our community by sharing it with the people that you think might value from it. So we appreciate that. Of course, to all of our patrons, thank you so much for joining us. To our new patrons, welcome aboard. And to our sponsors, the folks at Restream, once again, thanks so much. I know we had things were flowing a little bit slow technically. I don't know whether that's the way I encoded the video this week or not. But thanks for your patience. I know we were a little blurry and a little out of sync early on, but it seems to be tickety-boo right now.
Yes.
April.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. One and all.
Thank you.
Till next week.
Have a great
night.
Fun
storm in the castle.